Namaste. Welcome everyone to our sacred evening celebrating our great master Paramahansa Yoganandaji's birthday. I think even on a day like this, the angels on the astral plane are celebrating. And so our Guru Bhais who have gone on to the astral plane, I think are also celebrating with us. So let's tune into the sacredness of this evening, into their grace, into the joy in the celebration of this. We'll begin with some prayer, chanting, some satsang. We'll have a full evening until 9 o'clock.
Namaste everyone, welcome. So as Devashiji said, this is a very special occasion. So let's begin this special occasion with a prayer to the great Gurus. So let us pray along. Divine Mother, Heavenly Father, friend beloved God, great masters of Kriya Yoga, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahari Mashay, Swami Shri Yukteswar Ji, Paramahansa Yogananda Ji, saints and sages of all religions, we bow at thy feet. O great masters, O Paramahansa Yogananda, we invoke thy presence today. Bless us that we may get inspiration from your life, from your consciousness and your teachings. Bless us that we may become channels of your divine love. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So we'll chant now. The chant I'm going to do now is Door of My Heart, which Yogananda ji translated from Bengali to English. So let us open our hearts to his presence today, and then we'll do a short meditation followed by a video of Jyotish and Devi ji. Door of my heart, open wide I keep for thee. Door of my heart, open wide I keep for thee. Wilt thou come, wilt thou come, just for once come to me. Wilt thou come, wilt thou come, just for once come to me. Will my days lie away without seeing thee, my Lord? Will my days lie away without seeing thee, my Lord? Night and day, I look for thee, night and day. Night and day, I look for thee, night and day. Door of my heart, open wide I keep for thee. Door of my heart, open wide I keep for thee. Wilt thou come, just for once come to me. Wilt thou come, just for once come to me. Will my days lie away without seeing thee, my Lord? Will my days lie away without seeing thee, my Lord? Night and day, I look for thee, night and day. Night and day, I look for thee, night and day. Door of my heart, open wide I keep for thee. Door of my heart, open wide I keep for thee. Wilt thou come, just for once come to me. Wilt thou come, just for once come to me. Will my days lie away without seeing thee, my Lord? Will my days lie away without seeing thee, my Lord? Night and day, I look for thee night and day. Night and day, night and day, I look for thee night and day. God of my heart, open wide I keep for thee. God of my heart, open wide I keep for thee. Wilt thou come, wilt thou come, just for moments come to me. Wilt thou come, wilt thou come, just for moments come to me. Will my days lie away without seeing thee, my Lord? Will my days lie away without seeing thee, my Lord? Night and day, I look for thee night and day. Night and day, night and day, I look for thee night and day. Night and day, night and day, I look for thee night and day. Night and day, night and day, I look for thee night and day. Night and day, night and day, I look for thee night and day. Let us sit straight now. We will enter a short meditation with a straight spine and a calm mind. We will center ourselves. We can observe breath. We'll meditate for about 10 to 13 minutes. Let us try to open ourselves to the grace of Paramahansa Yogananda ji as if he is meditating within us. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. We will watch a video of Swami Jyotishan Devi Ji giving a New Year's message.
Hello, everyone. We want to wish you a very, very happy Master's birthday. You know, Yoganandaji came into this world in order to really start a revolution of consciousness. He brought to the West the ancient teachings of India, but not just as ancient teachings of India. He brought these timeless teachings and he restated them in a way that was appropriate to this modern age that we all find ourselves in. And in that, he united East and West. He united religions. He united religion and science. He did so much. But I would say most importantly for most of us who are watching this video, he brought a very clear spiritual path, which was dependent on working with energy and controlling that energy, withdrawing it and bringing it up. And in that use of energy control, we affect our consciousness, ultimately lifting it up into the light and joy of God. And in that light and joy, if we do it deeply enough and we allow the miasma of this world to recede, we begin to see that our true self is, always has been, and always will be as an extension of God. That great path that Master has brought to us is a gift to the entire world. And you and I are so fortunate to be able to be disciples or followers or meditators or in some way connected with that great energy of God that came to earth through Master. So it's with great gratitude, great sense of being fortunate to be a part of this, and a certain amount of dedication to do my best to be a good follower, a good disciple of the teachings that Master brought, and also to be a channel for the love and the joy and the wisdom that he in particular, along with Swami Kriyananda, have brought to the world. God bless you on this sacred day.
Hello, everyone. Well, it was January 5th, 1893, 128 years ago, that a little boy was born in northern India and was given the family name Mukunda Lal Ghosh. And of course, this little boy was much more than a little boy. He was an avatar. And he was recognized as such by all the saints that he met. In Autobiography of a Yogi, when he visited saints whenever he could, and he says they called him Little Sir. Well, Swami Kriyananda told us really what they called him was Chota Mahashaya, Little Great Soul. So it wasn't just Little Sir. They saw that his greatness from a young age. And the drama of his life, as we read about it in Autobiography, was always seeking God until he found the safe harbor at the feet of his guru, Sri Yukteswar, and modeled for us the guru-disciple relationship, showed us the willingness to be molded. It's not that he needed it, but we needed to understand, particularly those of us in the West, what the guru-disciple relationship really is about. It's not about slavish following or mindless obedience. It's about the conscious surrender of our life to a higher consciousness so that we can be molded, so that we can work out all our karma. And then Master came, as we know, in 1920. We've just finished celebrating the 100th anniversary of his coming to the West to begin his world mission. And he called that mission, interestingly, the second coming of Christ. And he didn't mean that Christ, what he meant by that was the coming of the Christ consciousness. He was bringing reawakening in the world, the true understanding of religion, which was, as Jyotish was saying, a unified vision, a vision where you felt a oneness, not only with all of creation, all people, but with God. And Yogananda took the monastic name, Yogananda, bliss through yoga, but bliss through union. And that's what he came to show us in this world so divided now by racial prejudice, by poverty and wealth, by different political following. He tried to help us, to give us a tool to find unity amidst the diversity that is causing so much pain and suffering throughout the world. And so as we celebrate his birthday and move into a new year, 2021, filled with hope, that this year we will move away from the disease and the prejudice and hatred and violence that has plagued us for many years in the past, and to awaken that second coming of Christ, the presence of the Christ consciousness within us, so that we too can know bliss through union with our beloved Father, Mother, God. God bless you, and please receive our deep wishes for a very, very happy coming year.
Again, namaste, happy Master's birthday to everybody. What a great joy to be celebrating this as his disciples and as those who are drawing on his grace and who have the blessing of being aware of what he gave to us and the power of what he gave to us. The theme for tonight is God will give you the strength. And this, I think, touches on something that Master said to Swami Kriyanandaji. He told him more than once, you have a great work to do, and I will give you the strength to do it. And this is a very powerful statement. In many ways, it's really what he has said to all of us. Swamiji had a great outward work to do, but we have this great work to do of becoming liberated and becoming free and serving the Guru. So take this seriously, this opportunity and this blessing. What Master came to give us, it's sort of a contradiction because really what he came was so much more than the body. It was consciousness and magnetism. Yet here we are celebrating the day that he was born into a body and making a big deal out of it. And it was because we wouldn't have had that connection and that grace and that blessing of his presence without him being born in a body. But it's not about the body. It's his magnetism, his consciousness, and spiritual power. After he left the body, some of the nuns in SRF, his disciples, were at the crypt where his body was interred in a mausoleum kind of a place. And they were all weeping, except this one woman was kind of paying more attention. And she just was wondering why everyone was weeping. And she heard a voice, and this voice was Master. And he said, I'm not in there. And so they were all looking at this cement wall where the body was. Oh, Master's there. He's far away. He's gone. Sister Jnana Mata too had a much deeper inner understanding of this. One time, the other disciples, she was with them. And Master had been away, maybe even for a long time, like in India, and was returning to the ashram. And they had missed him and they were waiting for him. And there was a lot of energy and joy. And the nuns were very excited and talking and just, kind of restless, Rajasic probably, at least compared to Sister Gyanamata. Probably everybody was Rajasic compared to Sister Gyanamata. And she was there in her spine, very centered. And one of the disciples says, "So aren't you excited?" And she just looked probably a little bit coolly, I imagine. And she said, "Why?" And, "Well, Master's coming back, Master's coming back." And she just said very quietly something to the effect of, "But he's always here." And for her, he was always there. Now, it wasn't an absolute truth, because probably for some of the other disciples, he wasn't always there, because they weren't always in touch with him and keeping that connection. And that part is up to us to keep that inner connection. And if we just worship the outer form and even just the picture and all those things, which is good, I'm not speaking against that, but take it into meditation and take it very deep. And this is the great gift that Swami Kriyanandaji gave to us. If you look at the great disciples of Master, the ones who really gained the most, they were the ones who had the deepest sense of attunement and discipleship in an inward way. That would be Sister Gyanamata, Rajarshi Janakananda, and Swami Kriyanandaji. So this attunement really is the greatest gift or power that we can draw on by tuning into Master very, very deeply. Not just today, but all the time. But today it's a good time to tune in and to celebrate. And this inner attunement, what it does, instead of looking at the personality or the, just their nature in some ways, see, we're trying not to become like them. We're trying to become them, the gurus, the great ones. And by becoming them, I mean becoming one with them. And this really is the goal of what we're trying to do when we meditate, when we pray, when we serve. Being with Swami Kriyanandaji, I noticed that he had something similar with Master. He said that when Master was with all the disciples, all he ever talked about with the disciples, the serious ones, was discipleship and attunement. When he was talking, he wouldn't talk very much. He was very inward because he wanted the disciples to tune in inwardly to him. I asked Swamiji, because Swamiji, in his years of just working with me, I think maybe with one exception, the only advice he ever gave me was about discipleship and attunement. And that's what he really kept pointing me towards, because if we do that, then everything else will follow. If we get in tune with the Guru's consciousness, because what happens, the Guru starts to change us and transform us, and we start being not just like the Guru, but one with the Guru. I've shared this story many times, but it's especially appropriate this evening. I was with Swamiji about 15 years ago in Gurgaon, and we were in very heavy traffic in Gurgaon, and it was very sweet that this incident happened in very heavy traffic in the city, because let's face it, that's where most of us are in this day and age. We're not up in a cave in the Himalayas and getting away from it all. We're in the thick of it all and in the midst of it all. But I asked Swamiji, I just was trying to understand this idea of attunement to the Guru, especially in meditation. And I asked him, I said, my understanding, as I understand it, is that we offer our hearts to the Guru, we open our hearts, and when we meditate and pray to the Guru, it allows the Guru to enter into us. And I felt there was something more, and I was trying to understand whether this was enough or whether there was more. And Swamiji said, that's good to do that. And of course it is good. I still do it, and we all do. But he said it can be much more than that. And he said, what you really should be trying to feel when you meditate on the Guru, it's not that the Guru is out there and we're over here, because that creates a separation that is really created by us. by our own definition of the guru is there, I'm here, I'm talking to the guru. I hope he comes over to me. He seems pretty far away, or maybe he's only a few feet away, but still there's a separation there. And Swamiji said, no, what you want to do when you meditate on the guru with the guru, he said, feel that your aura and the guru's aura are merging and becoming one until you are one. And that is the goal of attunement. And it's a very subtle thing. We can imagine it. We can fool ourselves about it. We can just use our imagination. But if we really are receptive and open, our hearts are open, and we're very, very still. There's very little of the agitated vrittis and waves of feeling of the heart, because when those waves of feeling are there and we're restless and disturbed, it creates a veil between us and the truth and our own self and a connection with the guru. But when the heart is calm, desires are calm, and we invite the guru to be in us, with us, and then really try to feel that our aura and the guru's aura is merging and becoming one. This is available to everybody. It's not for those who are physically around Yogananda. It's a very interesting thing. Swamiji told the story of what Master said was the most advanced disciple of the great Ramana Maharshi. And this was Sri Rama Yogi, or Yogi Ramya. And Swamiji met him, and Master met him, and he was fully realized. Master said he was more advanced than his guru, Ramana Maharshi, which is probably a sacrilegious thing to say. He probably didn't say that very loudly. But Ramana Maharshi, this disciple, Yogi Ramya, was very quiet. He lived far away. He would rarely visit because he lived so far away. And the other disciples he wasn't really well known among the other disciples, especially probably the more outward followers, of which there were many. There was many in the ashram who lived around Ramana Maharshi and hung out with him and spent time with him, who didn't have the depth, anything close to the depth that this great Sri Rama Yogi had. And the way Swamiji put it, he said that Sri Rama Yogi was like a name on the mailing list. And I don't think they had maybe they did have a mailing list in those days, because they did have a magazine that they sent out. They did have an organization, but he was almost unknown in that organization. He was just a name on the mailing list. And it was funny because over the years at Ananda Village, because we always worked with mailing lists and did big work parties where we stamped letters and put stickers on with the names on there. And it would be a joke after a while where one of us would hear over the phone or from a letter from somebody who was far away, who nobody knew, who had some deep, real experience of cosmic consciousness. And we would say, I just heard from a name on the mailing list, because it can be any of us. It can be any of you. It doesn't matter how far away you live. We have people all over India, and you may be far from a center. And right now we're all physically far because we can't connect. And just, I know it's just a name on the mailing list is sort of the way one might look at it, but the name on the mailing list, we're all that name on the mailing list who has the potential to find God, to have this deep attunement to the guru. I'm going to talk about two more particular ways to practice attunement. In addition to having the guru always within us, always close to us, always meditating with the guru, merging our auras with Master. Another one is just the power of satsang. Because when Master told Swamiji, I will give you the strength to do it, one time Swamiji implied that the strength to do it, a great deal of that came through all the people who helped him over the years, all his Gurubhais, the Ananda Gurubhais, who spent time with him. And he said this one time, he said, you all thank me for what I give to you. And he said, I wanted you to know that I thank you for what you give to me. I could not be doing what I'm doing, but he implied the inspiration, the joy, even the attunement. Much of it or part of it came through his Gurubhais, who were really like disciples in a way. And so in a way, we really are all helping each other. I have to say this myself. I mean, I've been with Ananda for many decades, but I don't know that I could have done it. I know that I could not have done it this long without the power of satsang. And even right now, I get so much from my brother monks here in Chandigarh. And these include souls who, maybe have only been doing these things for a few years. And I feel the same inspiration from each of them, literally each of them at times, that I feel from people who have been doing it for decades. And Master can come through surprising. I wouldn't say surprising because I'm not surprised anymore. Some other people might be surprised, but Master can come through all his disciples, all of our Guru Bhais. And this is the power of just satsang, of trying to spend time in these satsangs in the virtual community that we have, spending time with each other virtually now and just seeing each other's faces regularly because we start to make that connection. So this is the power of satsang as the second, in addition to the more inward things. The third is just to act as an instrument. It's very, very important. We often talk about this in terms of seva, but it's not just in seva. Seva is the outward, and sometimes, seva, it's kind of sounds like a scolding. We need you to be doing more. You need to be doing more work for the organization. Stuff needs to get done, and it comes across like that sometimes. I have to confess, and I'm not crazy about it when I see that. And it is important to be actively engaged in giving and serving, but also see seva as so much more than that. And especially right now, there's not as many opportunities to serve. But it's not about seva in terms of doing stuff and running around and looking like you're doing a lot of stuff. It's more about acting as an instrument. And far more than what you're doing is the consciousness with which you are doing it. And so even I think praying for other people and acting as an instrument for Master consciously, for Divine Mother, is a form of Guru Seva that may be the most exalted that there is if you're doing it with deep attunement and really acting as an instrument. And so acting as an instrument of the Guru very consciously, even in everything that we do, is very, very, very important. And this is really was the hallmark of Swamiji's life. He just always, everything he did, every decision, when he wrote the books and chose a word, he was tuning into Master and asking Master, what do you want me to say? What do you want me to write? He told Narayani one time, he was working on the biography of Yogananda, and he wrote a particular chapter. It was a chapter on Kriya Yoga. And the next day he said he was in a state of just deep bliss. And he said, that chapter that I wrote last night, that was Master writing it. And by the end of his life, he had become Master and Master had become him. That was really the fruits of a lifetime of doing all of these things, of practicing attunement, of satsang, of Guru Seva, of acting inwardly as an instrument and everything. And Swamiji too, he prayed a lot for people. This is something that I don't know that people fully understand, is that he would pray for people. I know I've seen his meditation room in America, and he would have a list of people always, just this handwritten list of people that he was praying for all the time. And he took that part very seriously too. All these things that he talked about, he did all of them. He wasn't just saying, yeah, and prayer is good because Master said so, but he did it. And by doing it, by acting as an instrument, by practicing attunement, by having satsang with your Guru Bhais, this is where we really will draw on the strength and power of what Master gave us. And then when we do that, then we will do great things. This is what I see with happening in India now with many of our souls. They're doing great works. They're reaching many people, and I just see great joy and inspiration. And when you have attunement, you have joy, you have divine joy, you have divine inspiration. And then it's not a matter of trying to act as an instrument. Maybe in the beginning we do, but over time, as we gain that attunement and that connection with the Guru, it just naturally starts to flow through us because the Guru is just acting through us because our consciousness is slowly starting to become more and more one with Master. So this is really, I think, more than anything, what he gave us. And just to celebrate this great gift, to offer our gratitude. Divine Mother sent him to pilot us out of the clouds of delusion, as he put it. And the way out is these things that he gave us, particularly. And again, finally, just he would speak mostly and almost entirely about attunement to those close disciples. And I would say that's all of us who are here today, those who are really serious about finding God and serving God in this lifetime. So draw on that and be grateful. And I just have to express my gratitude for being with all of you and sharing with so many Guru Bhais on this very joyful and sacred day. And now Jamal will share a few things.
Thank you. Thank you, Devashiji. So happy birthday to Master and each and every one of you, that he lives in you. And Master was born with a very particular mission to uplift this world, to unite this world, and to show each one of us the pathway back home to God realization, back home to our true selves. And you too have been born with a very particular mission, a mission on how to transform yourself in the way that you need transforming, which will be different than every other human being, that each one of us is unique, but that we are the same and that we're all searching for the same thing, that we are searching for God. Some people are searching in many different ways, but it's God who's all of it. You know, there was a time that I really wanted to just simply run away from this world and go live in the Himalayas and meditate and only think about God and practice Kriya and just keep my mind on God alone. But I've come to realize, whose world is all of this? Who created all of this world? The good, the bad, the craziness? It's all him. It's all his show. But I want to share with you the thing that really changed me from doing that. And it was a meeting with Swami Kriyananda around the time that Devashiji was talking about. This was in, say 2005, in a coffee shop in Gurgaon. The last time I was in Gurgaon, I particularly said I'm going to the Metropolitan Mall on pilgrimage. And I wanted to sit in that very same coffee shop, it's still there, barista, in the Metropolitan Mall. And there I was talking with Swamiji and I was telling him that I think I just want to go live a secluded life and just really try to focus and keep my mind on God. And Swami smiled, and he smiled like he was just ready to shake with laughter, but he knew that if he would laugh out loud that I might get offended or something. So he kind of had this suppressed smile on his face, and he said, well, Master told me that my life would be one of intense activity and meditation. And well, he did put those words intense activity first, before meditation. And well, you have come to me. And that was all he said. And I went home and thought deeply about it. Actually, in that same day, he performed a miracle in front of me in a wishing tree. I won't speak much of it, but it made me think that he definitely knew what he was talking about on the spiritual path, and that he knew what was going on in my mind. He knew just about everything. It was kind of hard for me to grasp that whole point. But how could someone know so much? It takes time to tune into that. And so I went home and I just thought, well, intense activity, eh? Oh, well, I came to Swami. Did I really come to Swami? At that time, I was thinking I'd come to Master, and this seems to be someone who knows Master. I was still putting it all together. But each one of those points has become so important that yes, in whatever way I was brought to Swamiji, and I'm very grateful for that, and very grateful to be able to attune myself to Master through Swamiji. And I don't feel that I can grow spiritually without Swamiji's grace, without his blessing. Devarshiji was speaking about this point that comes in meditation where we're opening ourselves to the Guru, but there's still this, he's over there, wherever there is, and I'm over here, and how do I get him to come here? And we try to visualize, okay, he's in my heart, but it's still he and me. And how do we get to that point where it's only him, where our little ego dissolves into this ocean of infinite consciousness? And there has to be a willingness on our part that we no longer want to be this little self who thinks that we know everything, who thinks that we're more important than absolutely any other human being. This little ego that's filled with desires, that we have to let go of all of it. And I'd say it is a process for all of us. I guess it doesn't have to be that right now we could just simply say, I refuse to be myself. It reminds me of Swamiji in meditation, just forcefully, I won't yell to scare everyone, but saying, get out! And he was speaking to his own little self, to his own ego. And with those words, just casting that ego into the spiritual eye. But that takes the Master's blessing, that we have to do it in meditation, but it also will take that strength. He will give us the strength. It takes his strength to be able to cast our ego into the infinite. And this is what we're trying to achieve in meditation. This is what we're trying to achieve in seva, in our daily outward life. It was a very important realization for me to see that whose creation is all of this? Who am I to judge anything? That God's the one doing everything. Yes, it's easy to say this thing shouldn't be like that, and this is so bad, and this is so bad. But who wants that negative consciousness? It's much nicer to just say, it's just the way that it's supposed to be. It's just the way he made it. And God, what do you want to do today through me? I'm happy to do absolutely anything. You want me to sit there and meditate all day? All right. You want me to type emails and do satsangs and do accounting? All right. Whatever you want, God. And there can be no little voice on the inside that says, okay, I'll do this, but accounting, no, or whatever. I'm joking with my own personal likes and dislikes here. But there has to be a willingness to absolutely whatever you want, sir. And imagine if Master was here right now, asking us to do accounting or asking us to, whatever, you fill in the blank. Each one of us have our own things. But if he was here, we'd, yes, sir, certainly, certainly. And now we feel he's not here. Of course he's still here. Of course he is. And of course we have to do whatever seva is asked of us. And you know it. You know that little feeling that comes. I'll do this and this, but not this. That we have to say whatever you like. And as soon as we're willing, Swamiji tells the story of the man who just did not like to water all of the plants at Mount Washington. Get trumping through the mud and all of this, one can understand. And so he had this just severe dislike for this, and every day, okay, you go water the plants. And the day that this man felt, if I have to water these plants every day for the rest of my life, I may as well learn to enjoy it. And today I'm going to go water the plants for Master with joy. Then okay, he never got that seva ever again in that incarnation. Interesting story, isn't it? That karma had been purified, that there had been perfect willingness. This is another important point as we all are in this organization, that Rajarsi started a center and Master said, shut it down. We don't need a center there. that you won't personally grow from it, Rajasi. Swami Kriyananda asked Sister Gyanamata to write articles for their magazine at the time. She politely declined. And Swamiji was thinking, but she has so much to give, and clearly she did, being one of Master's most advanced disciples. But it wasn't her dharma to give in that way. So you get to work out with Master what is your way to serve. But know this above all, that if there's any little unhappiness inside of you, that if there's any little unwillingness, negativity, it will have to be worked out. And I don't say that with a sense of stern, you have to be good or something. I say it with simply just a matter of fact, it's the way it is. That each one of us has to become pure channels of Master by becoming more and more in tune with Master. And this is our destiny, and I want you to know it is a joyful journey. It's a joyful destiny. That as we get more and more in tune with Him, that He comes into our lives and He cleans up everything. And He makes life absolutely joyful so that we can live in a state of ever new joy as we attune ourselves with Master, as we become Master, as He becomes us. That what are we becoming? Perfect bliss. Perfect bliss. A consciousness of perfect bliss. That's just, as Sister Gyanamata was leaving her body, joy. Too much joy. But it's not only about when she left her body, that she was highly advanced. She was in that state all the time. Too much joy. So this is your destiny. As you celebrate Master's birthday, as you let Master be born in your heart anew, afresh, ever new, as you let Him be born in there today and always, that the one thing that's going to come out of that is ever new joy. That you simply get to become more and more joy. Everything else is dust. Everything else, all of our little attachments, we have to let them go. If we have those attachments, we suffer. We let those attachments go, we're free. So this is enough out of me for this evening. I just want to wish you that joyous feeling of living in Master and living with Master and being in great attunement. So I'll now hand it over to Bar and Shamini. Nope. Who? Ashish will do a reading first. Thank you.
Namaste everyone. Happy Master's birthday to all of you. Today I'll read the poem God, God, God by Yogananda ji. From the depths of slumber, as I ascend the spiral stairway of wakefulness, I will whisper, God, God, God. Thou art the food, and when I break my fast of nightly separation from thee, I will taste thee and mentally say, God, God, God. No matter where I go, the spotlight of my mind will ever keep turning on thee. And in the battle din of activity, my silent war cry will be, God, God, God. When boisterous storms of trials shriek, and when worries howl at me, I will drown their noises, loudly chanting, God, God, God. When my mind weaves dreams with threads of memories, on that magic cloth I will emboss, God, God, God. Every night, in time of deepest sleep, when my peace dreams and calls joy, 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 my joy comes singing evermore, God, God, God. In waking, eating, working, dreaming, sleeping, serving, meditating, chanting, divinely loving, my soul will constantly hum, unheard by any, God, God, God. Om.
Good evening, everyone, and happy Master's birthday. We'll just do a couple chants together. First one is, I will sing thy name. Try to sing along with joy in your heart, the joy that our Guru brought to this world, to each one of us. I will sing thy name, I will drink thy name, and get all drunk with thy name. I will sing thy name, I will drink thy name, and get all drunk with thy name. I will sing thy name, I will drink thy name, and get all drunk with thy name. I will sing thy name, I will drink thy name, and get all drunk with thy name. Om Guru, 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 Om Guru. I will sing thy name, I will drink thy name, and get all drunk with thy name. I will sing thy name, I will drink thy name, and get all drunk with thy name. I will sing thy name, I will drink thy name, and get all drunk with thy name. I will sing thy name, I will drink thy name, and get all drunk with thy name. Om Guru, 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 Om Guru. I will sing thy name, I will drink thy name, and get all drunk with thy name. I will sing thy name, I will drink thy name, and get all drunk with thy name. I will sing thy name, I will drink thy name, and get all drunk with thy name. I will sing thy name, I will drink thy name, and get all drunk with thy name. Om Guru, 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 Om Guru. I will sing thy name, I will drink thy name, and get all drunk with thy name. I will sing thy name, I will drink thy name, and get all drunk with thy name. I will sing thy name, I will drink thy name, and get all drunk with thy name. I will sing thy name, I will drink thy name, and get all drunk with thy name. Om Guru, 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 Om Guru. I will sing thy name, I will drink thy name, and get all drunk with thy name. I will sing thy name, I will drink thy name, and get all drunk with thy name. I will sing thy name, I will drink thy name, and get all drunk with thy name. I will sing thy name, I will drink thy name, and get thy name. I will sing thy name, I will drink thy name, and get all drunk with thy name. I will sing thy name, I will drink thy name, and get all drunk with thy name. Om Guru, 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 Om Guru. I will sing thy name, I will drink thy name, and get all drunk with thy name. I will sing thy name, I will drink thy name, and get all drunk with thy name. I will sing thy name, I will drink thy name, and get all drunk with thy name. I will sing thy name, I will drink thy name, and get all drunk with thy name. I will sing thy name, I will drink thy name, and get all drunk with thy name. I will sing thy name, I will drink thy name, and get all drunk with thy name, and get all drunk with thy name, and get all drunk with thy name.
Let's make this next chant a prayer from our hearts to Yogananda ji, to the Guru. Shri Yogananda, guide to inner freedom, steal into my heart of hearts, banish my delusions.
My heart, banish my delusions. Sri Yogananda, guide to inner freedom, steal into my heart of hearts, banish my delusions. Sri Yogananda, guide to inner freedom, steal into my heart of hearts, banish my delusions. Sri Yogananda, guide to inner freedom, steal into my heart of hearts, banish my delusions. Sri Yogananda, guide to inner freedom, steal into my heart of hearts, banish my delusions. Sri Yogananda, guide to inner freedom, steal into my heart of hearts, banish my delusions. Sri Yogananda, guide to inner freedom, steal into my heart of hearts, banish my delusions. Sri Yogananda, guide to inner freedom, steal into my heart of hearts, banish my delusions. Sri Yogananda, guide to inner freedom, steal into my heart of hearts, banish my delusions.
Let's just take a moment to take these beautiful chants, the words of inspiration we've received from Jyotishji, Deviji, Devashriji, Jamal, and the beautiful poem which Ashish read. Let's take them inward for the next 1 minute or two. Let's meditate. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Again, wishing you all a very happy Master's birthday. And it's such a joy to be together like this, sharing such a beautiful day. And somehow it feels like the veil of Maya becomes thinner. Probably, of course, a great avatar was born, but also with our focused concentration, our devotion, and our deep desire to know God and to merge our consciousness with the Guru, it somehow attracts a special grace, I feel, during this time. And especially, I was just reflecting on it some time back that it starts around Diwali time, and then when it's Christmas, you're just approaching the new year. And in one way, the new year doesn't mean much, and in the other way, it means a lot. You can see it even as a new incarnation, just to have a fresh head start. And I think around Christmas time might be a good fun time to see, okay, a good time to reflect and set goals while going forward. While New Year, of course, we set our goals, and probably Master was born. Now, this is just pushing it too far, but he was probably there to put a check. How are your resolutions going so far in terms of New Year and everything? And I was like, okay, it's been 5 days, and many times on day 2 or day 3, things I decide, okay, I'm going to meditate and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, and it's not there. But it acted as a good reminder for me right now to tune into Master's birthday. And I've been doing so far so good, I should say, and I hope you've been doing well also. And something which really touched me about the topic and what Devarshiji and Jyotishji had shared, one was that God will give us the strength. And one of the greatest strengths which I have felt by coming on the path, and I'm sure which each one of you have felt, is what Jyotishji mentioned while sharing. And he said, a clear spiritual path. And isn't that true? Like, before we came to the spiritual path, before we knew that this was our spiritual path, that it wasn't clear, it was foggy, it was hazy. And at least in my case, I didn't know what on earth was I supposed to do. And with the blessing of the Guru, and it was his strength, and it is his strength, which gives us the clarity and just you can see forward that yes, this is what I'm supposed to do, in the form of techniques which he gave. We know about Kriya Yoga, we know about energization exercises, and he was very clear, and it is just so relevant. I felt so touched when I came to the spiritual path also, that I don't have to be someone else. I can start my spiritual journey, and all of us can start our spiritual journey from exactly where we are. Like Jamal was sharing about, he had asked Swamiji, or maybe mentioned to him about this idea of, just having a deeply inward life and going off to the caves and having the focus only on God. But for many of us, or most of us in this day and age, it won't be possible. But it is possible at this very moment, and we are, living our lives, doing our responsibilities, fulfilling our responsibilities, but at the same time leading a very spiritual life to the best we can. And everything which Master gave, Yogananda ji, he said, if you do 1/100th of what I give you, was it 100? I think so, yeah. You will get there. And that itself is a big promise. He gave us so much. And it's such a blessing, and it's so comforting. Otherwise, it's so much pressure. There are two extremes. One is you have to do all the work, and the other thing is that God will do it and you don't have to do anything. But I just love this term which Swami Kriyananda ji said about cooperating with grace, that yes, we also put our strength. And I was so touched that, okay, fine, I'm just not sitting passively and expecting someone to bless me and say Om, and then, okay, I go to Samadhi. I'm not so entirely, blind to say that, okay, fine, I just rely only on strength without putting any effort. But at the same time, it's a balance that we cooperate with the Guru's grace. That, like Swami Kriyananda ji would say, and this was much before he came on the spiritual path, about meeting luck halfway, that we have to put out the energy, and then, the grace, the luck, if we want to call it luck, would come towards us. And one more beautiful thing, which again Devarshiji shared, which I really wanted to emphasize also, was about satsang. And I don't know either. I think I know just that I wouldn't have survived on the spiritual path if it was just on my own strength. I had a pretty drastic experience, I would say, in this, that I was living in a particular flat, and I was in a particular room, and there were my Guru Bhais in another room. And when I was in my own room, I was with a group of people who were just attacking me for my choices in life, or trying to be too spiritual, or how horrible I was in trying to be selfish and being spiritual. And it was just constant. And I thought, oh my goodness, uh, I'm not getting anywhere in this incarnation. I'm no good. I don't know how will I get through this. All I had to do was step outside of this room, and when I was with my Guru Bhais, my friends, and it was just like I was laughing, I was smiling, I was just feeling God's presence within. And it didn't happen just once, it happened at least 3 4 times where I had to swap between these rooms. And it was quite drastic, and I really understood the importance of environment is stronger than willpower, and how God gives us the strength through his devotees also. And we also have to then consciously be aware of how we give strength to our friends when they are in need, and not necessarily in terms of, hey, do you need my help? Not necessarily, it doesn't even have to be words sometimes. As I think one of the acharyas said, that sometimes nowadays we don't walk into a satsang, but sometimes we heal people by just a look, just a kind look of looking at our Guru Bhai who walks into a center. And now probably we can heal each other by just having seeing each other on these Zoom calls, one might say. And one other thing which I feel very, this is just something which was so dear, and like when I came on the spiritual path, was God is not some distant entity far away. I just love the words which Swami Kriyananda ji also wrote it in his book Affirmations for Self-Healing, and said it many times, that he's the nearest of the near and the dearest of the dear. And it's just so touching. And the fact that Swami Yogananda ji, he prayed to God in the form of Divine Mother, and Divine Mother is somehow very sweet, and I find it very sweet praying to Divine Mother, and just find a unique closeness, I might say. And Swami Kriyananda ji would say, when you pray to God, don't see him in terms of like, or even when you pray to him, don't think of him or he, but rather you. And then the next step being what Devashiji said, that it's not even you, but it's just all I, and the greater I, not my ego I, but in terms of just merging our aura with the Guru's aura. And just there's no differentiation between the disciple and the Guru. There was and just how to see in terms of the Guru being personal and also impersonal. That's something I really learned by coming on the spiritual path. And it just ties in with the concept of, Divine Mother, that yes, I can pray to Divine Mother as someone who's very near and very dear. And at the same time, I can pray to God as divine wisdom, and divine love becomes personal. And just to share a story, it happened very recently, just 3 or 4 days ago, just how God can take really active roles in our life, and sometimes they like to have fun. And um, Brahmachari Premdas, whom we didn't see today, but he got a new phone today. I mean, recently, not today. And it was so beautiful that I called him. And what happened was, usually I've called him many times in this last 2 3 years. It isn't my first call, but it was his new phone. And he just picked up, and he did not reply at all for the first 2 3 seconds, or maybe 5 seconds. And he was in complete pause. And I was wondering, I was like, hello, hi, Premdas. And he just wouldn't reply, and I didn't know what happened. And then finally he was like, hi, Vineet. And I was like, yeah, that's me. I was like, I don't know. It somehow says Paramhans Yogananda when you called. And there is a photo of Swami Kriyananda in the icon. And he was just scratching his head, and he had no idea how that happened. And I thought he was having fun with me, or he was fooling me around, really. And I said, no. And he said, no, it's like it says Paramhans Yogananda, and there's a photo of Swamiji over there. And Jamal was close by, and he showed it to Jamal, and he was like, yeah. And I said, Premdas, how about, I was an accountant and I used to verify things. I said, take a screenshot. I want to see it when I come and see you. I don't want to listen or take a word for it. So take a screenshot or send it to me on WhatsApp. And he did that. And then when we met a few minutes or few hours later, I saw his phone, and it was actually Paramhans Yogananda had called him, and there was a photo of Swami Kriyananda as the icon, and it was so sweet. And one could say it was some divine coincidence, or something might have happened, some tech error, or I played something, but I didn't do anything. And there are a few reasons behind how it happened, but it was so sweet. And there are two ways to look at it. One is, of course, it was just a coincidence. The other one is that the Guru is always there. He's probably calling us, or he's calling through us. He's not some distant entity far away. In fact, he is us. There is no differentiation between us and the Guru. Like Swami Kriyananda ji said, that I don't know where Yogananda ends and Kriyananda begins. And how does that happen? Well, everything which we have heard so far, just maybe, there were too many things we heard. Take one thing, take two things. It might be too much to do them all together, but do them just in a way. I don't like the word religiously, but try to do them religiously and do them to the fullest you can. Like, okay, this is what I'm going to make it my highest priority, whether it be meditation, whether it be, okay, I'm making a point to have satsang with a Guru Bhai every time, or I'm trying to make it a point that I will be, before I go to bed or when I rise, I'm going to feel Master's presence. I used to have a watch, I don't wear it anymore, but just to remember the presence of the Gurus, I would set a timer, and I would just, like, for every 1 hour, it would just go on, or sometimes half an hour. And I would just pause everything. I would feel that it's not me doing all this rajasic activity or something, but rather it's Master doing it through me. It is Swamiji doing it through me. And we will slowly find, in the beginning, it feels like it's all easy when we are on the spiritual path. In the beginning, there's some amount of beginner's luck, and it seems like it's all easy. And especially if you've read the autobiography of a yogi, it feels really easy because Master makes it sound so simple. And then there is an in-between phase where things seem quite bumpy, and it's just like, here I am with all my faults and all my mistakes and all my karma and all this junk. How am I going to get there to the ultimate? So, the beginning looks very sweet, the end looks very sweet too, but the in-between also can be sweeter if it's not just us doing it. And the one most important thing I've found again and again, and it is from the Bible, which says, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. That all the problems, all the difficulties, everything can be resolved by just seeking God first, seeking the Guru first, seeking that divine consciousness first. You can say it's like, I don't know if I can be clear in mentioning, but there are these dolls which people play with, where they are tied to threads, and they kind of play with the doll, where they pull the thread and the dolls move basically, and they are used in some place. And there's a very particular string by which you have to lift it. If you pull it from any other string, it'll just tie or knot itself, basically, and the whole motion becomes just, there is no motion which happens if you pull it from the wrong string. And there's usually that one right string, and that one right string always in our life is God, Christ, Gurus, and nothing else really. It seems like the Guru doesn't know much about finances and taxation and cooking and how do relatives work, but trust me, he does. And every time I have tried it on my own, as if you've read the vow of discipleship, when I've tried to act on my own strength, and this part is not in the vow, but I've really messed up in a very grand way, in a grandiose way, I might say. But every time I have first relied on giving my life to God and Guru and said that, okay, and that holds true for everyone, that when we give it to God, when we give it to Guru, when we say, you do it, and I will act, I will reason, I will, I will act, but guide thou my reason, will, and activity in everything I do. And at the end, this is something which Swami Kriyananda ji shared in, I think, his last talks before he passed away. And he quoted, I think it was Saint Augustine, but uh, there was one Swamiji, I think he was trying to quote the same quote, and he couldn't remember which saint it was, and he said, yeah, it is one of those big boys, So anyways, it must be one of those big boys who said this, but Swamiji quoted, Father, thou hast made us, Father, thou hast made us for thyself, and our hearts are restless until they find their rest in thee. So let's offer our hearts to the divine, to our Guru, to our gurus who have incarnated to help us. For what reason was Master born? It is for each one of us, each single individual. So with that, now I will pass on to Brahmachari Jaydev for leading us into a chant and meditation.
Thank you, Ved, for sharing sweet stories. Well, we sing a chant and followed by 20 minutes meditation.
Let's visualize the entire planet surrounded by Master's grace, His divine love, bringing smiles in the hearts of everyone. Let's now send out healing vibrations, Master's healing vibrations to the entire planet, filling it with more peace, calmness, joy, divine love. Let's pray. Divine Mother, thou art omnipresent, thou art in these thy children, manifest thy healing presence in all bodies, in all minds, in all souls. Let's rub our hands. Let's send 3 Oms. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Happy Master's birthday again.